guys, final review, and today we're doing the F plus 30 centimeter Manda. That's right, that's how you pronounce it. Manda's from the 1963 film Atragon. Okay, now that's basically it's a movie, science fiction movie from Toho. Obviously, this is part of the Toho 30 centimeter series. It's about this giant submarine, post World War II. Captain's controlling it. And he wants to used it to bring Japan back to, its glory days. Bring the Empire of Japan back. But because of the Mu Empire that's threatening to take over the Earth, they have to use Atragon to defend the Earth and defeat the Mu Empire. Okay? Now that we know about the film, if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. A couple quick facts about the figure. It was released in late March 2012. Early April 2012. So usually with the figures of late March, it's like the last few days of the month, but it won't make it into collectors' hands until early the following month, okay? So March 2012, April 2012, that's when this figure came out. Bam! Alright? A couple other facts about Manda. This is the 1963 version, not the 68 version that we saw in Destroy All Monsters, okay? So Manda looks a little bit different. He's got a lot more antennas and nostril antennas on his face that we didn't see in 1968's Destroy All Monsters version. But for the most part, he looks the same. Just there's some subtle differences and whatnot. One thing that kind of bothered me about Manda is that he's not really in the movie all that much. It's a very small role in the film. You don't really see him until the last third of the film, and, he attacks Atragon and everything, but he's not really in it all that much. And then the same thing goes for his other movie appearances in Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla Final Wars. So, unfortunately, he has a short film history on screen. But I will say, because when we do see him, now we go back to the figure here, when we do see him on film, he's underwater. So it's kind of hard to really get a grasp of the detail of what the monster looks like. The figure now looks great. This is amazing. I mean, I actually think he looks better here than he did on screen, on the suit. But again, it's hard to see because it's mostly dark. It's underwater. Okay? Now, let's get more focused on the figure. This is the Rick Boy version. Where's my Rick Boy? Here he is. So what does the Rick Boy come with? It comes with the Mu Diver. This is the suit that the Mu people, the citizens of Mu, this is what they wore. And a bunch of the main characters, when they were escaping the Mu civilization and trying to get away from Manda, they had to throw this on. And even the Mu Empress, Princess, Empress, whatever you want to call her.
Whatever.
She was wearing the suit. They had to throw them on her, and this is what, the Mu people wore when they went to the surface, and they started their attacks on the Earth. Okay, so it's a Mu Diver. This is the Rick Boy. It's kind of hard to stand, but we'll go over that later. Alright, the box. It's a long box. Not such a big box. It is big. It's long because, Manda's long. So he goes in the box like, yay. Okay, it's got Manda on the front, snaked all up and everything. The name. Pretty basic, and then you got your Rick Boy sticker down there. Okay, so that's the box. The back is your basic legal jargon, yada yada. And, yeah, that's it. So, let's get into this review. Bam! Alright, guys, now let's rock and roll into this review. So, we're looking at the Toho 30 centimeter series Manda from Atragon, okay? So, the first thing that you notice is that you really can't see it that well. I mean, the head, because the way this figure is sculpted, he's a dragon, like a serpent, snake-like. The positioning is kind of just, I'm not really overly fond of it because of the way, I'd rather see him more like that. But when he's just positioned like that, it's not the best figure to display. So I wasn't happy with the way it looked when I displayed him like that, so I needed a fix. I needed him to, kind of sit on something. So, from the Gigantic series, the GMK Godzilla 2001 came with this awesome base that is supposed to rest the tail on. Now, you don't necessarily need this for the tail. In time, maybe the tail will start drooping on the Godzilla figure, but whatever. I decided I'm going to use this for Manda to display him better. So on my shelf, I have him like that. So it kind of props him up a little bit. And get a little bit better display out of him. Of course, you know, it's not perfect, but I get a better display out of him like that, and it just looks a little bit more appeasing to the eye. So for the review, we're going to have him sit up like that. I'll, you know, move him around. That way we can get a better look at him. But let's talk about the figure itself. Okay, so he is sculpted snake-like, very nicely done. A lot of scales and whatnot across the whole body. It's basic. It's the same routine across the whole figure here. You got 2 legs, 2 arms up front, and his head. Big old claws in those are fangs rather. Those are not claws, but big fangs, big fangs. But the sculpt is really nice. I really dig the sculpt. It's basic. Again, this is where's that tail? Start from the tail. You know what? Whatever. I'm just gonna. Okay, so check out the tail. Big old flappy tail. Kind of looks like King Ghidorah's, but I would imagine this as he swims, that helps him gain some traction on the water. Okay. You got your legs. Pretty basic. Little legs. Again, you know, those helped him wrap himself around Atragon. No arcs, they don't move. They are, because they are small. Remember, this is vinyl. They do give a little bit, so you got to be careful. You don't want to play with those. You don't want to move them anyways. There's no point in moving them. Across the back of the figure, the whole figure, you have these, I guess we'll call it a scaly dorsal membrane. Hair. It's not hair, but, you know, that looks good. Okay? And then up front, you got arms. Small little arms, just like the legs. He's got, you know, basic kaiju 4 fingers on those arms, hands, whatever you want to call them. Okay? And then as you get closer to the top, those ruffles get a little bit bigger. And then right to the head. Nicely. You know, doesn't he look like King Ghidorah? A little bit. Just a little bit. Nice. Okay? Now, the face, you have these nostril antennas here. You got some horns on the sides. Nice detail. Spikes here all around. The mouth looks great. You got the tongue, the teeth, all individually sculpted. You know, they're not just mishmashed together like some other lines. You know, but hey, that's the level of detail you're going to get with X Plus, so that looks great. These big fangs here look awesome. Everything looks pretty good on this. I'm really, really happy with this figure. I picked them up, you know, last year sometime in 2014. The eyes. Get a look at those eyes. Can I move these? Yeah, you can kind of move these out of the way. But you want to be careful because that's thin. That's small. You don't want to be too rough with them. Thin, the smaller it is, the more fragile it is. But the eyes are very snake-like. Obviously, he's a snake. You know, so those look pretty good. Really nice. Digging that. Okay? And, of course, you know, like we said, the scales. Scales are the same throughout the whole body. Okay? Long. Bam. Alright, so get back up on your rock there. Again, now, like I said about the pose, yeah, it's just hard to get a good look at him, so I have him kind of lower on my shelves. That way, when I'm standing over him, it's, you know, you get a little bit better viewing of the figure. Okay, so that's how that works. Alright, the paint job, aqua metallic blue I'm going to go with here. You know, there's greens, you got blues throughout most of the whole figure. So that looks pretty good. I really like the metallic look that it has. It kind of gives it that shimmer like he's on the water. So that's pretty cool. There are some subtle brown highlights to give some depth here. Keyword depth with the paint job. That's what makes, you know, that contributes to making these figures awesome. The tail. Let's go look at the tail real quick. The tail has some browns in it, greens and blues. So that's really, I like that. It flows really good. This is, yeah, a lot of greens and blues here. The underside. Let's look at the underside real quick. So the underside, it's kind of a tannish beige. Okay, throughout the whole figure. Okay, pretty basic. Pretty basic. Yeah, that's the most of the figure. There's really not much else to say. Metallic blues and greens, aqua looking, metallic. It looks great. I love the paint job. Looks good. You weren't really able to see this much detail on the monster, Manda, in the film because he was underwater and it was dark. So it's hard to appreciate how well the monster looked, the kaiju looked in the film. But the figure looks phenomenal, okay? Back to the face for the paint job. Let's get up close. A little bit better. Mostly browns and greens again. Let me see if we can focus a little bit better there. Yeah, when you change the focus, everything, the colors change. So you get a couple different looks here. Look at those eyes. Looks good. Eyes are black pupils with a yellow and orange eyeball. These are mostly limeish looking green, some blues and whatnot. Teeth are bone white, very, they're not clear white, yellowish looking. They got some tint. The tongue is off pink. The gums are off pink. The top of the mouth is flat. Actually, that's a first. Usually the mouths are grooved on here on these monsters, but I don't really remember what it looked like in the movie. But that's just a flat upper mouth, and there's no grooves there. If you stick your finger in your mouth, you can feel, you got some depth in your mouth. Feel it. Go ahead, stick your finger there. No, don't. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. Yeah. Anyway, so the teeth are nicely individually sculpted, like we said. Those are painted very good. Looks good. Now, I think, I got to watch the movie again, but maybe this was like he's got some hair along the legs there. But, those are brown on both sides. And same thing with the arms. I guess we'll call those his shoulders. So that's that. Okay? That's the paint job. Pretty basic. Joints and seams. Let's rock right to joints and seams. Now, I think we got one here. It's really hard to tell because here, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, these are hidden really good. Really good because of the way these scales run, you really can't tell that there's joints and seams. So it's very seamlessly looking. But the arms and legs look like they have seams. Either way, they're hidden really well. Nothing distracting. There's no points of articulation on here. Again, X Plus, they're not made for articulation. I don't even know why I said it in these reviews. Because they're at the joints, they articulate, they move, but it's not like SH Monstars. I say this all the time, okay? So, that's that. Okay? Bam. Alright. Let's talk about the size comparison. Size comparison now is going to be a little bit different because, he's different. He's not a kaiju standing up like the rest of his brethren. Now, mind you, this isn't the 30 centimeter scale, but he's small. But he's long. But he's in 30 centimeter scale. So let's get something to compare him with here. Alright, so now we got the 30 centimeter Godzilla 1968. Okay? So as you can see, they do fit in scale. Very nice. I think this is the first time I had both of them together. They look good. But Godzilla obviously towers over Manda because, again, it's obvious. Manda's a sea serpent, dragon, snake-like kaiju. Godzilla's a giant dinosaur. He stands up. But they are in scale together. These look good. I actually like this. I might take some pictures like this. But there's a size comparison. Pretty basic. Mind you, this is 25 centimeter Manda, which does not exist unless you're a special person that got lucky enough to get the David Dopko custom Manda that's from a kaiju. I forget the monster's name from Ultra Q, but basically David took the kaiju from Ultra Q and customized them to be Manda 1968. So yeah, pretty cool. If you know what I'm talking about, then consider yourself part of the privileged. Bam! That's right, privileged. Bam! Anyway, so there's your size comparison. Boom! Okay, so we're going to talk about the Rick Boy. It's going to be kind of hard to do because he's really small. So I'm going to bring him up close. I'm going to change this focus setting here. There we go. So, again, the Rick Boy, it is the Mew diver suit. This could be anybody. This could be some of the main characters. But, this is the Mew diver. This is what they wore in the film when they swam through the ocean up to the depths of Earth. This is what the characters wore when they escaped the Mu prison chamber, whatever you want to call it. But basically, it's metallic silver painted. He's got all these ruffly scales all over him. Look like, basically the same as Manda's. You got your air pack on the back. Hold on, we're not focused. There we go. Look at that detail. Nicely detailed, especially for something so small. Okay? Look at the face. You got your face mask. You got your Mu hands. Look at those 3 little nubs there. It's pretty awkward looking. Like a puppet. And then you got those awesome shoes. Look at those shoes, man. Those are in style. I think I'm going to get a pair. Alright, so that's the Rick Boy. The Mu diver suit. Bam. Nicely done. A lot of good detail. Here's, you know what? Look at this. I really like that because the mask, it's, over the suit. So, because it's a face mask, focus, you can really see how it's pressed against their head. Okay? Nicely done. Looks good. Oh, yeah. Bye-bye. Alright, so there you go. 30 centimeter Manda. We're going to take it back to the table for final thoughts. I think I covered everything. Joints, seams, no articulation. The detail's great. Actually, real quick. Well, you know what? There was no suit actor for this because if there was a suit actor, that'd be kind of weird and pretty painful for him to squeeze himself. But Manda was controlled all by puppeteering, strings and whatnot. But there is no seam. There's a groove-like seam here. But actually, let's talk about the pose real quick before we finish up. Looks like they must have had a string here. Probably here at the tip of the tail, maybe. But here, here, and at the head. I'll have to double check. Watch the movie. Maybe you can see some strings. If not, no big deal. But anyway, that's just something I noticed based on how the figure's posed. But alright, let's go back to final thoughts. Bam! Alright, final thoughts. Okay, so, final thoughts. I love this figure. Don't kill me, but I've only recently seen Atragon. So, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. It was mostly a sci-fi film, not so much a kaiju film. But it's by Toho with a bunch of Toho actors. Everybody you're going to see familiar there, you've seen in the Godzilla film. So the figure itself, I love the figure. Got a lot more appreciation for Manda now, having seen the film that he's in. But yeah, I dig the figure. Definitely, you got to have it part of your Toho 30 centimeter series. This figure has not been reissued. It has not been distributed by Diamond. There is no word about if it's going to get reissued at the time of this recording. Who knows? X Plus is always doing something interesting, and so is Diamond, so who knows? Maybe you get your hands on this. This figure is currently hard to get at the time of this recording. Again, if it gets reissued, then it'll be an easy pickup. So, I love it. Definitely fresh. When I got him, he was a couple years old, so he's lost that fresh scent. But, this figure's perfect. I really have no complaints for it. The pose, it is exactly what it needs to be, So I would definitely recommend, you find something to prop him up on. Like I said, I use my base from the GMK Gigantic series, and that works perfectly on my shelf. So this figure is definitely certified fresh! Bam! And out of a scale of 10 to 10, well, out of a scale of 10, 10. Give it a perfect 10. Definitely fresh. Okay? So that conducts my review for the Toho 30 centimeter X Plus 1963 Manda. Bam! Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you check out Fresh Vinyl HQ for more information. I'll be doing written reviews, and there'll be a photo gallery for this figure there. There. It's going to be there. It's not done at the time it is recorded because I got to take pictures. Anyway, so you guys follow me. Alright. Comments. Leave them in the comment section. Questions. Hit me up. You guys know how to get in touch with me. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Mr. Fresh Vinyl. Hit me up on Facebook. Check out Fresh Vinyl HQ. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And remember, buy vinyl, fresh vinyl!